Creative Studio version 6, we can draw the patterns we need and we can cause them to concatenate with point to point. To do this, we're going to use a 1/2 inch grid. So under View, we can select grid size. Normally I use an inch, and this is what inch squares look like, but we're going to change it to a 1/2 inch to help us draw the pattern, because I know I want the arc, a 1/2 inch would be close to what I want it to be. So we're going to use this grid, we're going to use Draw, Sewable, and the first thing we'll do is make a line. So I'm going to zoom in. Point-to-point patterns must start and end on the same horizontal plane, and they must stitch left to right. Those are the things you must keep in mind. If I touch G on my keypad, you'll see at the bottom of the screen the G looks like it's activated or depressed, and my cursor becomes this pink dot and snaps to the grid. So I'm going to make a line. It doesn't really matter how long I make this line, so I'm just going to use 4 grid squares. I left clicked with the mouse, I left click with the mouse here. I'm going to right click to end, and I'm going to right click again to exit the Draw Sewable function. So here we have the line we're going to use. The next thing we're going to draw is a sewable arc. We're going to follow the same rules with the arc. We're going to have it snap to the grid. Let's go down here. Actually, it doesn't really matter. Let me start here so they'll stay close together. I'm just putting them close together just to be able to, for you to see them together on the screen. We're going to click here with the left mouse button. In the middle of our arc, we want to come up 1/2 inch. We're going to click here for the middle click, and for the final click, we're going to come here. And you saw the arc disappear. So it may be a mystery at first, but when you do it yourself, you'll see. We're going to left click here. We're going to right click to end. And here we have 2 sewable separate patterns. So here's one pattern, and here is our other pattern that we're going to use. So now what we have to do is export this pattern as a CSQ. So I left clicked on it to select it. I'm going to right click on it. In my right click menu at the bottom of the list, there's Export Pattern. We're going to say to CSQ. So this is our CS quilting file, and I already practiced it, so I already have my line and curve here in my list. But for your sake, I'll show you where it is. I store them on the computer, on the hard drive, in a folder called My CSQ. Down here where it says file name, you're simply going to name it line. I'm going to name mine line 2 so that it makes a new file. And I'll say save. For the curve, do the same thing. Click on it with the left mouse button to select it. Right click to get the right click menu. Export pattern to CSQ. And we're going to name this one curve. I'm going to name mine curve 2. And click save. Both these patterns are now in our pattern list here for this project. So we will be able to use these to point our pinwheel. Okay, now if I leave these 2 patterns on the screen, they may want to stitch, and we don't want that. So we're going to just hit New Quilt Group. It defaults to New Quilt Group 2, and I'm just going to click OK, or I could hit Enter on the keyboard. So here's another quilt group. So to test these patterns and see if they act the way we want them to for our pinwheel, we are going to click Create a Boundary. I'm going to take the head of the machine and click on my pinwheel and make a boundary that's going to show up here on the screen. So let me show you how that looks on the machine.